Right, hello everybody, welcome back to the action. We were just thought we might have had a technical issue or two, but we've managed to get it sorted. You'll be pleased to know it is now time for the West London Eagles to take on London GD. It is the Men's Handball Premier League. I am one of your commentators, Ian Waterhouse. I'm delighted to be joined by former GB junior. It's Jack Oliphant's joining me again. Now Jack, we've seen an incredible game between the women, haven't we? Finished 25-all. What are you expecting from the men?
I would expect similar story, to be honest. The league table suggests that there may be a bit of a bigger gap than in the women's game that we just saw. But, you know, at the end of the day, we're after Christmas, things reset, new players join, some players leave, some players lose a little bit of fitness. You know, there's lots of variables after Christmas. That means that, you know, you don't really know what to expect. And you can see already, actually, the table up on your screen. And you can see the London GD men's currently 3rd and West London Eagles all the way down in 7th.
Yeah, lots to play for today. The Eagles really need to get their season kick-started. Here's a little look at the West London Eagles men's squad list. There it is. They are the players who are going to take to the court here for the West London Eagles. A very quick look at some of the men's squad. It's slightly different, actually. I think there's been a couple of changes in there. That's what we've got there. And of course, we want to say a big thank you, West London Eagles partners, WatfordVans.com. Big thank you to those guys making these types of games possible, and for London GD, GLL Sport Foundation, and Kemper as well. So here we go. As you can see on your screen, it is now time for the Men's Handball Premier League. As I said, the women's game, my word, that was something, wasn't it? So if you want to go back and watch that, you can do. It's on our channels right now. It was a thriller. The London GD had a 7-goal lead at the break, but the West London Eagles pegged it back and it finished 25-all. We see anything almost remotely resembling that between the men, my word, we're in for a treat this afternoon. The throw-off at 4:30, and it's almost game time. Here we go, Jack. Are you looking forward to this one?
I am indeed, yeah. Some of the stats sort of indicate that maybe West London Eagles are struggling for goals a little bit, so we might see them slightly struggle for goals. They've not had the most brilliant defence either. In terms of how many they've scored, it's 19.8 per game, whereas they've conceded 33 per game. So it's no wonder why they're at the bottom of the table. They'll be hoping for better fortunes. So about to tip off, it will be Eagles to tip it off. If you're wondering on GD's goals per game ratio, they normally score about 30, they normally only concede 22, so it's quite the opposite fortunes for them, which is why they're quite a lot higher up the table.
Certainly is. Eagles really need to kick-start their season, don't they? West London Eagles, of course, used to be known as the Ruislip Eagles. Changed their name in October 2016 to the West London Eagles. London GD actually stands for London Great Dane. In 1976, they were formed by a number of Anglo-Dane students, hence the Great Dane name. In fact, they were known as the Great Dane Handball Club up until 2010. They changed to London GD, and as you can see, first attack there doesn't lead to anything just yet but a foul. So here we go, London GD in the red, West London Eagles in blue.
Yeah, so early pointers that the GD mean business, but equally Eagles try and wrestle the ball back. Not converted this time though. They were getting the ball back via a foul. Equally, you can see everybody just trying to test the ball out, but it's a great pass to Ollie Tyler, who goes in and scores. Ollie Tyler, obviously recently captained the GB men's team, so Great Dane of fantastic talent throughout the squad. And he's actually seeing two great British central defenders actually lining up in the centre of Great Dane's defence as well as Will Moore as well, who's been at GD pretty much for as long as I can remember. He's my age, and I think we started at the same time. He's been here ever since. So
it's a social for you today, hasn't it, Jack?
It has been, actually. It's been quite a throwback.
A number of the players as they've come in, it's been quite nice. Of course, former GB handball player is with us, and I don't think that's going to count, is it?
That one's not, no. It was travel whilst being fouled, basically. So they get to keep the ball, although they travelled. The reason why they travelled is because they were being fouled, so they just get the ball back. Okay, so Eagles with the ball here, currently bottom of the table. Don't want to emphasise that too much, but facts are facts. And really looking to get their season underway here this afternoon against London GD. However, there could be an early problem here for GD, as I think a 2-minute suspension has been flagged.
There could be.
Quite see why, but by the looks of it,
I was just watching the replay actually, and he almost had him round by the neck and sort of just dragged him down. So,
high tackle then. So it is worth stressing, handball, it's a physical game. We didn't get to roll the VT, I don't think, before, and explaining what handball is. We'll do that during half-time,
We'll do that at half-time, absolutely, yes.
But it is a full contact sport, but it needs to be done in the right way. It's basically chest on chest is the easy way of explaining it. There's a more complicated way of explaining that's more true, but we'll just leave it at the easy way for now.
Exactly, and it's you have to attack, don't you? It has to be a positive attack as well. So you've got to show signs of intent. And you're not allowed inside the D, are you? So the orange thick line there, you're not allowed inside that D.
No, and that's exactly what happened just then. The player tried to pick the ball up while it was touching the floor in the D. That's why the goalkeeper gets the ball back, and we can continue playing with it in GD's hands this time round. Of course, I think a player down, so they're missing their left winger. So apart from that, they've got everybody else the same. Now, having said that, I think we're back up to full strength, so I'm not sure why there is a number on the right of the scoreboard, but we'll carry on anyway. GD's ball, and unlike the women's, you'll probably see a lot more almost set-piece style play, although that's a very good windmill there by number 24, and a good save. He didn't quite get the power. Ollie Tyler recovers it
straight back.
He's got 2-on-1. He tries to spin.
Perhaps a little bit sloppy there from the Eagles to give possession straight back again.
Yeah, and the free throw is given. Right winger comes back on, of course, by the looks of it. GD utilising the fact that you can rotate subs constantly, having specialised attackers and defenders. And again, the foul there was a travel, which means the foul had to be called, no advantage. Almost looked like a travel there as well, but an aggressive Eagles defence means that the right back and left back are having to play just between each other more than anything else.
We were expecting a physical game. We certainly getting it, aren't we? Your referees, Alicia Martin and Nicholas Lamont, certainly got a work cut out, haven't they? With Peter Gannon manning the table. It's 1-0 so far to London GD, but the Eagles in blue have the ball.
Yeah, they haven't really done much to threaten the GD goal just yet, but their defence has been pretty good. There's a bit of a, I wouldn't say a pot shot, to be fair, because he got the ball really well round the defender.
It was deflection as well. It's a corner, and rightly so. I did thought that took a touch from a London GD player, and so it did.
Yeah, so maybe not the space I was actually thinking there, and he said that sort of, they're nowhere near desperation yet, put it that way, but it's showing that they have to be a little bit more thinking outside the box to get through this GD team.
Oh, what a goal.
I'll tell you what, there's the hip shot coming off. And when you've got two pillars of defence, 6'5", like Ollie and Will, in the middle of the GD, sometimes going underneath them is the best policy.
Right, Jack, in the women's game, I threw you under the bus with about 10 minutes to go for your prediction. It's still a long way to go, of course, with 4.5 minutes into the first half of this 60-minute game.
With 55 minutes to go.
I'm going to ask you right now, and I'm going to ask you again at half-time and later on. What is your prediction for the game?
I mean, if you're looking at the stats, and you're looking at a little bit how sloppy it is, it's Ollie Tyler running through a small gap, but West London Eagles aren't very happy with the player on the ground, and I suppose you can see why. Sportsmanship, maybe not high, the highest on the agenda there by GD, but equally it's up to the referee to stop it. Paul coming onto the court there, we had a chat with him earlier, not impressed, signalling to the GD team. To answer your question, Ian, I think if you're looking at the stats, you have to go for a GD victory. I'm not going to estimate by how many or anything like that, because if you asked me at half-time in the women's game what I expected, it wouldn't have been what happened. So I don't want to spoil the women's game too much, because you need to go and watch it if you haven't.
Yeah, you do need to go back and watch that one as well. It is live across our channels. It will stay there too, so you can watch that at your leisure. You have to go back and watch, certainly that second half, my word. It was sensational. Yeah, London GD third in the table with 14 points. West London Eagles, with they are seventh with 7 points. Although they do have a game in hand actually on London GD, but it's not going to make a huge difference between the pair in the league. But they really need to get a win, don't they, the Eagles, to sort of kick-start the second half of their season.
Yeah, and as I said, I don't want to keep banging on about the stats or the Gulfin stats, shall we say, but
stats are stats though, Jack.
Stats are stats.
You can't ignore them.
Yeah, so we're looking at goals scored throughout a game. GD historically this season are pretty much 11 better off per game. They score 11 more goals per game, and they concede 11 less. So there's a big swing there for you to figure out. So that's why I'm going for a GD victory early on.
There certainly is. It's a bit of a derby game, this one, though, isn't it? It's the clash in the capital, of course. They're not the only two London teams. There is Olympia as well. But as we've seen in most sports, a derby game can often throw the form book out the window, can't it?
Yeah, exactly. People get up for it, and all you need is a bit of a momentum swing as well. You need a couple of goals to go your way, a couple of decisions maybe, because it's not a professional sport, handball. Sometimes decisions can be mistaken. Basically, mistakes can be made. We're all human at the end of the day. And we're on passive play here for Eagles. They have been holding on to the ball for a long time. Oh. It's a big shot.
I tell you, that thumped against that back wall. There's some power in these chaps, isn't there? My word.
And that's without any kind of momentum or run-up as well. So if that's a standing start, you can only imagine what it's like when they actually get going. Oh. Speaking of getting going, that's off the crossbar.
Shatters the bar as well, doesn't it? The
good recovery.
Still rumbling, look.
It is, yeah. Very much so. And as I said, you've got to be made a different gravy to be a goalkeeper. So that in the women's, you're only seeing more evidence of it here in the men's as well. In the Champions League, you're probably looking at 70 mile an hour ball speed when they actually fly out their hands at full pace. Maybe not quite as high here, but it's still a very good save there by the slightly weaker shot there, I'd say, of the left back for GD. It's taken at about 10 metres. You really want to be getting into that 9 metres before you try and get past any of these top level goalkeepers. So score 2-1. 7 minutes gone. It's actually a relatively low-scoring game early on in this one. But like we mentioned, the women's game's often a little bit more fast. The men's is a little bit more slow and strong, but mistakes still can be made. And it's a West London Eagles goal. 2-2 now the score.
Well, there's little to choose between the twos in the early stages of this game. 7 minutes into the first half.
Yeah, number 35, a great day in there. Managing to get through, but unfortunately, not really getting the power of the shot yet. Again, it's a good save by the West London Eagles goalkeeper. There we go, number 35 again. We'll get the names in a second once we've got a bit more used to the game. Steps inside, big shot, big save there.
Save.
By the goalkeeper, and that's the number 16. The West London Eagles. But by the looks of it, great day to get the ball back.
I believe that's Thomas, actually. He's the chap who runs the social media as well for the West London Eagles as well. He's Thomas, a very, very nice chap. In fact, the gentleman that I was liaising with in the lead up to this game. So, yes, certainly a handy keeper.
Yeah, it's Thomas Gower. And I thought it was a penalty. It is a 2-minute suspension. I didn't quite see why. I thought he just recovered the ball. I'm not sure what he must have done to deserve a 2 minutes. I'm sure there'll be a replay of it. You guys can rewind and make your own minds up. Unfortunately, when we're live, we don't get that luxury.
We don't. We've got a little delay.
There could be a huge 2 minutes.
Spin round.
Yeah, that's a big 2 minutes. That's an easy one. We can see why that happened. It was a high tackle. The player was going past him. And now London Eagles find themselves down to 4 outfield players so early on in this game. This is a massive, massive opportunity for Great Dane.
Yes, London GD, known as London Great Dane, in the red. Eagles in the blue. If you are just tuning in, this is the men's Premier Handball League. It's the top flight of handball in England, of course, under the England Handball Association. Oh! Another great save by Thomas, and he gives it a fist pump, doesn't he? He is pumped for this one.
Should have been an easy goal for Wilmore there, but there's another great save. Ollie Tyler recovers, but it's going to be the whistle's gone. I think it's a timeout to Great Dane. As Ollie recovered it.
The ball went in, but I assume it doesn't count. It remains West London 2, London GD 2 as well. So not quite a high-scoring game we had of the ladies' first half so far, but this is what we like, isn't it? It's almost like it's a very fast-paced game of chess at times.
Well, exactly, and it's very rare when you're 2 players up, 2 outfield players up especially, to be having to be the one to call the time out, because you need to actually settle your players down and take advantage of the fact that you are 2 players up, as I mentioned. And you could see coming off there, even though they've had 2 minutes, 2 suspensions effectively, West London Eagles are actually the one in the ascendancy in terms of attitude, in terms of their momentum, and that's largely due to that number 16, the goalkeeper, Thomas Cower, who's just been... He's been blessed in goals so far, hasn't he? He's been brilliant saves, especially the one from the right back of Wilmore coming through. So, yeah, good game by him so far.
He's been on fire. Now, the timeout was almost done. Of course, do get your comments in below. We can see them. We will read them out if we get a chance as well. Show your support for both the West London Eagles or London GD. Let us know who you are supporting and tell us where you're watching from as well. We always want to know. This is the men's Premier Handball League. It's the top flight. Don't forget you can watch all of our live sport on Live Sport now. There's a link in the body of this broadcast to take you straight through to our YouTube channel if you're not watching on the YouTube channel. Don't forget to hit that subscribe as well. You can watch handball, live golf, live motorsport in 2022. Right, London GD with the ball. Here we go.
Yeah, again, a little bit forced. To be honest, they had so much space, and Ollie Tyler just saying that he deserved a penalty, but to be honest, there was no need for the ball to go to the line player then. All they needed to do was move the ball quickly from left to right. They didn't even need to do it very often. It's just one quick set of passes from left all the way to right, and they'd have such an open shot on goal.
Looked a bit of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other to me there. Good call, I think, by the referees.
I
Eagles
think
on the attack.
Yeah, this is the problem, especially if you're a man down or 2 men down. You have no attacking options either because you're outnumbered in both sets of play, and the ball gets turned over. Can they take advantage this time? It's out to the left wing. Up he goes, and it's wide. It's wide as he tries to lob the keeper. The right option potentially to lob the keeper. Bad execution.
Thomas Cower down there in the yellow for the West London Eagles in goal. I think I'm going to have to nickname him Thomas the Cat from now on. He's stopping everything at the minute.
Yeah, I'm just counting the players. West London Eagles still down a player. They just need to go in and take some tackles, to be honest. They're messing around a lot here in the 9-metre area.
Best tactics is just try and hold the ball as long as possible, get back up to full strength.
The problem, though, is if you don't show intent to attack, the referees can put their hands up and it'll be passive play.
There must be a huge amount of attempted time wasting in handball, though, surely.
Well, there isn't, because the referees can basically stamp it out immediately. They are back up a player and they get a goal. So they've not only recovered one player from that suspension, they didn't really concede any. I don't think they did concede any. And they're back to full strength. GD, a huge missed opportunity. I would have expected them to be at least 4 clear after having 2 minutes with 2 players up. And it has to be said, a lot of credit, as we mentioned, goes to the goalkeeper of West London Eagles. And you can already see the Eagles are putting that pressure high up on a really aggressive 5-1. Will Moore forces that pass to the line. Ollie Tyler with the shot, but there was a defender in the area holding on to Ollie. So therefore, it's going to be a penalty to GD.
Okay, penalty, here we go.
It's going to be the number 20 of Ben Luyton, and he does put it into the net this time. So even though we're now 6v6 essentially, GD finally get their goal, and it's 3-3.
We are 11 minutes into this first half, 30 minutes each way, followed by a 10-minute half time, of course. We'll keep you up to date with the timings as we get on as well. So it's 3-3, Eagles with the ball. Eagles are the home team. They are 7th and bottom in the table, though. London GD currently occupy 3rd place.
Yeah, so there was a GD player in the area. Well, he was tackling him there, but I don't think it was a penalty because he didn't manage to spin and get the shot off. So, there's signs that West London Eagles can get through this GD. And I think it's almost like there's a winter hangover over London here. And they need to shake that off as quickly as possible. Although it's only drawing at the moment, momentum can shift. And in any sport, the underdogs can come through and take victory.
Oh, what a block. What a great block. Number 37, very tall for the London GD, really taking advantage of his height there. I've been impressed with number 10, though, for the Eagles.
Yeah, it's a bit of a forced shot there. That's because we've got this passive player. As I mentioned before, the problem is when you have mountains in front of you, they're pretty hard to climb, and Will Moore is definitely one of those mountains.
He certainly is, isn't he?
And it's a goal. It actually came off the back post.
Wow,
it didn't come off the front post. We didn't think it actually went in, but the referees are giving it.
I was about to call for goal line technology, but we don't need it.
GD, just a few, again, simple sloppy mistakes. They're not really getting the ball turned over because of it, but equally they just sort of look a little bit, I wouldn't say devoid of ideas, but not expecting such an aggressive West London Eagles defence. But it's a good shot there by the number 94, I believe that was. And that was Mehdi Kabak. Good shot by him. They'll be looking for more of that. Some more speed onto the ball, some more movement off ball.
Absolutely.
So as the Eagles start to line it up,
they're trying to find a way through, aren't they? They really are.
They're initiating that trigger movement that allows 2 players to go into the line. But equally, all they've done is congest the centre of the court.
Stood over there, well on the left, and they didn't want to give it to him. Missed a bit of an opportunity there, I think, Jack.
Yeah, well, the problem is their move there initiates a double line. Oh, it's a huge tackle, and he's had to pull out of that one. Otherwise, it would have been a 2 minutes and forced line pass again. but there is a foul on Ollie there. But as I said, when you initiate that trigger movement that we saw Eagles do there, all it does is congest everyone to the middle of the court, which blocks the low shots as well as the high shots that GD are already pretty decent at blocking. So as GD tried to bring their winger into play, Wilmore skips round, skips one, past two.
Oh my word.
But again, a bit of a snapshot. He didn't really know where else to go, and that is because of the good aggressive defence that West London Eagles have clearly put in here.
It's only a play to keep your eye on. No, number 37 though, isn't he? That's a wonderful attack play. Couldn't quite get it home, but he's also been solid in defence too.
He was the one that came over and said hello to us during the women's game.
He was stood next to us, wasn't he?
He was very complimentary of the broadcast. So I hope everybody at home is enjoying this as much as he was.
Well, please do comment if you are. We want to hear from you. We can hear from you as Eagles go on the attack, but it's blocked once again by the man mounting, number 37 for GD.
Yeah, as I mentioned, two big pillars in defence there, and obviously they're not just tall, they can actually move their feet as well. They're pretty much impossible to get past. Here's a long pass, it's floated, it's lofted, it's not the best, although he does step into the area.
Did he not make it out?
Well, he did, but the referee's actually waved play on. I think because maybe he thought he was pushed into the area. I'm not entirely sure on that one. Another pot shot over the two tallest men in British handball is an ambitious manoeuvre from Eagles, and they need to think of something smarter than that. They haven't used their wings really at all in this game. I would suggest maybe trying to get it out there as a timeout is called by Eagles. Absolutely.
Do get your comments in. Remember, we can see them. We do want to hear from you. I hope you're enjoying this coverage. It's the Men's Premier Handball League live. It's the West London Eagles against London GD. The clash in the capital. What have you made of it so far then, Jack? It's certainly a very physical game, isn't it?
It's a very physical game. I think both teams seem to have more of a winter hangover than the women's did. We saw the women's game, they came out at 100%. By the end of the game, they were coming out 150%. If anything, they upped it throughout the game. Both of these teams need to up it now. It's 4-4. Unfortunately, we don't have the time because they have the countdown of the timeout.
No, we don't. We do have the league table on the screen for you now. As you can see, Olympia at the top, Nottingham second, London GD third, Enemy Hawks men fourth, Carshalton Titans fifth, Cambridge men sixth, West London Eagles seventh. That's how it stood at the start of the play today. The buzzer goes, and we're about to carry on in 5 seconds. It's the first half here at Gunnersbury Park Sports Hub.
Yeah, and really, when you look at that league table as well, you got to look at, probably more important, is GD's position. Really, Ruislip have nothing to lose. West London Eagles have nothing to lose in terms of they can't move down any more positions, can they? Whereas GD have an opportunity to go top of the table here.
Absolutely.
They're only 1 point down.
Absolutely, well said indeed. Yes, of course, West London Eagles, formerly the Ruislip Eagles, in the blue there with the ball. London GD, Great Dane in the red and grey.
It's important to note as well the point system. I'll lay it out in a minute. That in handball employ. A bit different to football as the shot goes up over that two central pivots. They can't squeeze the ball through, and even when they do, obviously they've got a handy goalkeeper in that as well, as the ball's moved out to the left wing, and a great save!
Thomas again. Thomas Coway's on fire today, isn't he? My word, he's probably saved at least a good 3 or 4 goals, hasn't he?
Oh, hold on, this isn't a timeout.
Oh dear, what's going on here?
I think there's been a foul substitution.
So Peter Gannon on the table there. He's signalled something to your referee, Nicholas Lamont. He's reffing the game alongside Alicia Martin.
I can only assume that there was a foul substitution because it was the table that stopped play. Basically, there are two orange lines that you can see near-ish the centre table that are on the far side from our camera. Substitutions have to be made within that line, so you can't come from, say, the very left of the bench.
Yes, gotcha.
To run onto the pitch, because obviously then you could run on from any corner and it could be unfair advantage. So I can only assume that that's what's happened. So Eagles down a player, down to 6 and 5 outfield. Remember, GD with 2 players up earlier on, they couldn't take advantage, and they can't take advantage this time because it's another sensational save and they go for the fast break. But I think they got a bit carried away there.
I think, unfortunately, he tried to throw it to the shortest man on the pitch, so not quite the break that the Eagles were hoping for. But Thomas Cowler in goal for the Eagles has been absolutely sensational form so far in this first half. 16 minutes into this first half, 14 minutes left to go before the break.
Yeah, I think getting a little bit carried away there, wasn't he? He made a fantastic save and wanted to add to it by making a brilliant assist for a fast break. But when you're a player down, sometimes it's just best to take stock. Wilmore goes up, flicks the ball back. It's a good pass. Movement over to the right wing here. There could be a potential 2 minutes, but no, he scores the goal. And nothing wrong doing either. Brilliant play by GD, and they need more of that. They need more intensity, and also ball movement. That might sound pretty basic, but that's exactly what they need. So, West London Eagles here trying to find a manoeuvre through. Doesn't look like the number 6. That's Murchie. Can really make any kind of inroads in that right back. It's a brilliant save there by the 58 of Clement Badeau. And as London GD try and quickly manoeuvre the ball,
he made himself breaks it down. There to keep it. London GD number 58. He made himself big.
He did, yeah, and GD couldn't take advantage, but crucially they didn't lose the ball, obviously. They can make this a 2-goal lead if they play their cards right, still a player up, of course.
Well, we're yet to see any team take more than a 1-goal lead in this game. Is this the moment? And it's Thomas Cower once again.
Inspired goalkeeping so far, isn't it? Especially by him. I mean, we gave a shout out earlier on, obviously, to Clement Badeau for that save just before, but again, the rebound came out to Ollie Tyler, missed the target completely.
Well, if London never needs a giant wall built around it, Thomas Cower is your man, because nothing's getting through him so far.
Oh, he can't touch that again. He's giving the ball away.
Shame. Unforced error there by West London Eagles as GD on the move in red.
A couple of changes of personnel as well. The new line player, new right back. The new right back coming onto the field to 55 of Alexander Rauner. Oh, it's a great step there.
Good manoeuvre.
But again, a forced shot from 9 metres. It was a great set by Goog, but he couldn't get the shot going.
So slowly taking the ball forward, and maybe just catch a bit of a breath, Jack, or spy an opportunity, try and cut them open a bit.
Yeah, well, I think Eagles are back up to full strength. Just had to have a look over the gantry then to make sure. But this is what we sort of suspected from the women's and the men's, the difference. And here we go, the turnover is on. The spray to the left-hand side, the line player is on. Surely. Can he take the shot?
He can.
There we go. Fully expecting to sink that. And all of a sudden it is a 2-goal advantage.
First time in a game we've seen more than a 1-goal lead. However, as we saw in the women's game, it doesn't really mean a great deal.
No.
So early on, what have been 19 minutes into this first half, 11 minutes to go before the break, and it's finally poised.
Yeah, but 20 minutes in, you'd probably be expecting 20 goals to be scored. It's about a goal a minute, and currently we're on 10.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. A goal every 2 minutes at the minute. It's been a cagey affair, which is actually pretty exciting, I have to say. Both teams sort of trying to work each other's out. Well, I expect a very fraught second half as well, as the weaknesses and perhaps a bit of fatigue starts to kick in. This is the first game back for both teams for quite a while, isn't it? Certainly since the Christmas break, and it does start the second half of the season in the men's Premier League in the handball.
Yeah, we're talking about, and there's a potential penalty there as he was found the actual shooting whilst in the air as well. But if we want to have a look at their last games, it was on the 5th of December sort of thing. GD men narrowly victor against the North East Manchester Hawks, which is a very fast and fought game as well. And I'll tell you about West London Eagles in a second, because there's a goal there by the number 20 for GD from the penalty spot. And that is Ben Loyton, as mentioned before. So yeah, GD men, they narrowly took a victory from Manchester Hawks, 25-24. But from the opposite side, West London Eagles, if you're talking about momentum, they would have welcomed the winter break, because they lost the Carl Sholton Titans 17-39.
Wow, okay. Blimey.
Yeah, huge swing there, isn't there?
Anything's really possible, isn't it, really, here?
So as they try and move the ball, they don't look like a team...
Number 10 for West London Eagles. He has got an absolute fizzer of an arm on him, hasn't he? He whips that ball around.
It's a lot like football as well, when they got that sort of small backlift. When you got that small whip, sort of the opposition can't really tell when it's coming.
We certainly can't. We spoke a lot actually in the women's game, didn't we, Jack, about the lack of coverage of handball, and it's a real shame when you start watching this. What an incredible game, intense game. Goes a little bit under the radar in the UK, certainly doesn't on the continent though.
No, on the continent it's absolutely massive, and the EHF Euros, as it gets turned over, I'm not entirely sure why, I couldn't see that, there's a pillar in my way. But yeah, the EHF European Championships are currently going on, and which is a brilliant watch. If anybody is wondering, they're all free to watch. You just need to find EHF TV on Google Chrome or any website, and that is a brilliant sort of day's watch of handball, to be honest. As GD turned the ball over for a little bit too flamboyant
The only
play.
thing I will say about that, Jack, is that I have heard the coverage isn't as good as the Live Sport Now coverage of the Men's Premier League handball right here with your good self, Jack Oliphant, and myself, Ian Waterhouse from Live Sport Now, of course.
Yeah, absolutely, and it is nice to see as well, because obviously if you're watching those Champions League games, so you might be a little bit confused of what's going on, whereas here in England, the Premier League, amazingly, it's slightly slower. You can sort of compress a little bit more what's going on. As GD turned the ball over, and a great bit of play up the court
goal.
Gives a fantastic goal. And again, West London Eagles just seem to be out of ideas when they get to the sharp ends of the field.
They can't score at the minute, can they, the Eagles? They just, you're absolutely right. It's like watching a football match, and you can just see the attacking team, as soon as you get to the final third, just almost clam up a little bit, don't they? It's still a long way to go, of course, but it is West London Eagles 4, London GD 8. There is a gap starting to open up, and we have 7 minutes of this first half left.
Yeah, you can see that the Eagles trying to manufacture something, trying to orchestrate something, but again, a technical error, unforced as well, gives the ball away, and now passive play is up, which means they go up for the big shot, whilst under pressure. Turn the ball over, there's lots of space to the right, that's where they try to exploit. I think that's Ben Luyton, penalty specialist so far, recycles the ball, and GD have it well under their control yet again.
What can Thomas Cower do here in goal for West London Eagles? He's been on fire so far. We are now nicknamed him the Great Wall of London, because there doesn't seem to be too many ways here. If it wasn't for Thomas, we could be looking at sort of 12, 13 or so for London GD, couldn't we?
Yeah, I think they would have already been away from it, and they haven't even played that particularly brilliantly. There's a new substitution. Morgan Gillett comes left wing and loses the ball immediately, but it's because of a slap on the top of his hand.
I was going to say, he looked a bit confused there. It's like there was a ball here a second ago, now it's disappeared, and GD retained possession. GD in the red, Eagles in the blue. If you are just tuning in, hello, good afternoon, welcome. This is the Men's Premier Handball League live for you at Gunnersbury Park Sports Hub. London GD on the ball. They lead 8-4. And it's another save by Thomas Cower for the Eagles. And he's looking to play the ball quickly, thinks better of it.
That was a much better defence by the Eagles, actually. They forced Great Dane into a passive play. Really aggressive, very well done. It's just this part of the game that really needs to sharpen up from them, really. They haven't had any answer to Great Dane's defence. They haven't really had that many wing shots. They haven't been able to force through the centre. The couple of goals they have had have been shots like that.
Good save.
It was a good save that time round.
Straight at him, though.
Yeah, that's unfortunately it. When you take a standing shot from that far back, it is pretty much pot luck.
So what can the Eagles do? They need to get back in this, can't they? They can't afford to be letting GD get much of a bigger lead here.
Forcing it to the line there means that the number 19 didn't really have anything to do. Couldn't have anything to do with it. He couldn't roll his marker because he wasn't either side of him.
This is, of course, the men's game. Earlier on this afternoon, we brought you the women's clash. I won't spoil it, but you've got to go and watch at least the second half of that. It was sensational. It was almost a turnover of the ball. And things got a bit scrappy in the centre there, but Eagles take possession.
Yeah, Eagles will have possession because they managed to knock the ball away, and then the player was pulled back by the GD number 24, which I keep putting my sheet down, I shouldn't be doing that, is Oliver Latka. So GD a player down now, and if ever Eagles could find a gap, it's going to surely be now. They need to work this hard and use the wings more than they have done. I can count on one hand how many times the left wingers touch the ball, and again it's forced to the line, even though they've got so many players and so much space, there's an advantage.
Well, what an afternoon of live sport we've had so far. Far from over yet. We have just over 4 minutes left of this first half. It'll bring you a 10-minute gap. and an update on how things have been going throughout the day.
Miscommunication there, and GD have the ball back, and even with the player advantage, they still look like they're struggling to find the spaces here.
And they've got no keeper.
Here we go.
London GD, no keeper.
Yeah, so this is an interesting tactic used in handball quite a lot. You can do this even when you haven't got a player down. But if you have got a player down, you can bring the keeper out, leave an open goal, and that means you're attacking-wise, you're back to full strength. The problem comes,
and
as a great goal is paid off. The problem comes if you lose the ball, obviously you've got an open net. And a player has to substitute off. But Ollie Tyler finding the space on the line and making sure that he doesn't miss the shot. So that's 4-9, so GD actually winning this 2-minute period whilst they're a man down.
Yeah, you've got to take advantage, haven't you? But we've seen actually throughout the day, it doesn't necessarily mean it could be a bad situation for you. Quite often, the team who has had the advantage, the player advantage, hasn't really done a great deal with it.
No, and like we mentioned before, GD had the players' advantages, the player advantage. They had 2-player advantage and called a timeout. And this time, West London Eagles have a player advantage and have called a timeout. So I imagine it'll be to try and get their coach to try and drill into the players what he expects to see here. You know, to try and just calm them down just a touch maybe and reset, go back to basics. Because obviously as a kid you're taught exploit the spaces, move the ball, especially when you're a man up. Try and get through the gaps, don't rush it, because it's easy to think, oh, we've got an advantage, we must score straight away so we can get as many goals as we possibly can. Not always the way.
Well, I can tell you something, Roger. I think we've got a bit of banter going on social media as well. Scott Chegg is clearly a big London GD fan. He's singing a song, and it's LGD, the finest handball team the world has ever seen. And he's put Eagles get battered everywhere they go.
Well, that's one way of putting it.
Yes.
But brilliant to see the interaction on the stream as well. Well, may it continue.
Yeah, absolutely. Do get your comments in wherever you're watching this. We are broadcasting live across Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitch and Twitter. Twitter at IanWaterhouse1. That's my handle. Give it a follow and make sure you retweet this broadcast. On LinkedIn at IanWaterhouse2. That's my LinkedIn. On Twitch, we're at Live Sport Now. On Facebook, Live Sport Now. And both teams' pages as well. And on YouTube, Live Sport Now. There's a link in the body of this broadcast to our YouTube channel as the Eagles go on the attack. Don't forget to hit subscribe. Watch live handball, golf and motorsport for free in 2022.
Takes about 10 minutes to write all those off, doesn't it?
I've got it down to a fine art.
I was going to say, that's very impressive. You do that without notes as well.
Notes? What are they?
London GD have the ball turned over for them as well. I think, there we go, the players back to full strength. So therefore they can keep their goalkeeper in net while still attacking with the full complement. But of course they could still bring the keeper off and attack with one extra player, but they don't seem to need to do that.
The ball's turned over here though. Opportunity for the Eagles. Oh, and they can't
double dribble
do anything with it.
And if they play the cards right, very close to hitting the foot there. But yeah, unfortunately, double dribble. The London Eagles player managed to sort of bat the ball away, but that counts as a dribble. He can't then pick it up and do anything with it.
You are
Great
listening
save.
to the voice of
Great save!
With his former junior GB handball player. A fountain of knowledge. What a pleasure it is to have him alongside us this afternoon to talk us through the action here. It's the West London Eagles 4, London GD 9. We are 2 minutes away from half time here for the Men's Premier Handball League live from Gunnersbury Park Sports Hub.
I'll tell you what, I'm pretty confident that Ollie's brother Ben Tyler, who plays for Nottingham, is going to be watching this, and he's going to be very much enjoying the fact that brother missed that one.
If you are watching this, comment below. We want to hear from you. Tell us what you think so far.
Probably be enjoying the fact that his brother missed that one, without worrying too much about them losing this one at the moment.
Well, feel free. Give him a bit of stick if you want as well, Ben. We'll read it out.
A minute and a half to go of this first half. 9-4 the score. GD's ball back. I think there was a bit of a force in the centre of the court there, ending up with the Eagles line player touching it in the area. The GD moved the ball, it's nice work. Morgan Gillett on that left wing and straight in off the post. He'll enjoy watching that one back. I enjoyed watching it, Morgan, fair play. And a little bit more of that is, I think, what both teams need. A little bit more wing interaction. I think both are sort of getting swept along with the fact that their backcourt players are obviously very good, but they have wingers on this team, and they need to start using them. Both teams do.
Yes, they certainly do, don't they? And it's certainly a low-scoring affair compared to the women a little bit earlier at the break. It was actually, as they go for it, there you go. It was 11-18 at the break in the women's game, and it's 4-11 at the minute in favour of London GD, the away team.
And that was Morgan with the broken wrist shot. Again, he'll enjoy watching that one back even more.
We've got 15 seconds as well to half-time.
Yeah. So Morgan's been doing that since he was about 13 when he started playing handball in Tarpley, I tell you what. But yeah, it looks like the lead's been extended.
Not going to get it.
5 seconds to go. And they throw another opportunity away. So just like it's 2 minutes.
Oh.
There's 2 minutes with the number 9 of West London Eagles on the buzzer, so that'll carry on into the second half. Your guess is as good as mine what happened there. Ian, maybe he was trying to put a player off. You're not allowed basically unsportsmanlike behaviour and trying to put another player off, say shout in their ear or stomp next to them. But to be honest, I'm not sure what I saw there. That'll be Alan Capp with a 2-minute suspension going into the second half then. So 4-11, 7-goal gap. Just like we saw in the women's game. Very, very different kind of game, though.
It certainly is. So that. So there we go, it is half-time. West London Eagles 4, London GD 11. Now, Jack, it's followed a similar pattern to the women's game a little bit earlier, wasn't it? In fact, almost identical. Score's a little bit different, but there is a 7-point gap. Now, as we saw in the women's game, I'll give it away, but do go back and watch it. It actually ended a tie. Now, can the Eagles repeat that, get inspiration from the women, and bring this game back?
I think they need to try. I think the problems are slightly different for the men's compared to the women's. GD, unlike in the women's game, the men's GD team were very much performing below par, quite substantially below par to what we would probably come to expect. So they've got another 3 gears to go, and unfortunately Eagles need to find probably another 5 or 6 gears to be on par with them when they do that. So it's going to be a difficult one. I think, as I said, GD just started flexing their muscles a little bit in that final couple of moments, started to use the wings a little bit more, finding the gaps and putting the ball in the back of the net, because really that's the only reason why the scoreline is still relatively tight.
I mean, if it hadn't been for Thomas Cower in the West London Eagles goal, it could be quite a bit more, couldn't it?
I would expect 20 if it wasn't for Thomas Cower in goal, to be honest, and then all of a sudden you're looking at a 16 gap. You
are usually in trouble, aren't you, if your goalkeeper's your player of the match so far. As we said, yes, it is the Eagles 4, London GD 11. Now, we also mentioned quite a bit about handball, haven't we? If you're watching it for the first time, we want to know what you think as well. And
handball was really good fun. It's a little bit like netball and basketball, however with less restrictions, so you can really go for it. As it's so similar to a number of different sports, I found it really easy to get started with. And it's something I'm surprised they don't play more in the UK. You can't go inside the D, so your defence will form a ring around the edge. Therefore, the attack will be passing the ball backwards and forwards between them and looking to open up a hole in the opposition before ploughing through and scoring a goal.
We're almost back. Yeah, it has. Yeah. Right, we are back. As you can see, a bit of practice going out on the courts. It's similar to the women as well. West London Eagles head into the changing room. London GD sat in the corner, as you can see there, just having a bit of a chat. Now, head coach for London GD is probably a happy man, isn't he? But he'll be wary of complacency, as we saw I don't necessarily want to say from the women, but certainly the Eagles came out in the women's game with everything to play for, and I imagine it's the same for the men. It's kind of do or die, really, isn't it?
I would imagine so, yeah. As I said, there is an opportunity to go top of the table here for London GD men's, and actually, I suppose I get to explain a little bit how the table system works, because it's a little bit different to football. Not
yes, no,
different.
Please do.
There's a victory will earn you 3 points. Well, this is certainly how it used to be. I don't know if they've changed it. I doubt it. But a victory used to earn you 3 points. A draw earns you 2 points, and a loss still earns you 1 point. So over the course of a season, you could play all 10 or 12 of your games, however many games there are to play. I think there's 12 in the men's Premier League. And you will still end up with a minimum of 12 points. So even if there is a loss here, West London Eagles will still go from 7 points to 8 points, putting them tie level with Cambridge men, and it'll also put them tie level on played games as well. So
well, let's have a look at that table. Let's bring that up as you are talking about it as well. I'm delighted to say we do have the men's table. There it is.
Yeah, so you can clearly see there, if GD men's see out this victory, they'll be able to jump 3 points. That'll put them on to 17. But Nottingham, say, will still have 2 games advantage. Olympia will still have a game advantage. So, although it may only be temporary that GD can potentially go top, that's still an incentive, isn't it? And even with West London Eagles lose this, like we mentioned before, you can see that Carshalton and Cambridge are still on 8 points each, and West London Eagles will go on to 8 points, but the same games played. So there is still a lot to be said for both of these teams.
I can tell you something as well that perhaps we didn't quite pick up on. West London Eagles, we've seen their 100th goal this season here today as well. Their very first goal was their 100th. They're on 103 for this season, which, as you can see, is the fewest. But there you go.
I was going to say, GD, we should see their 200th today.
We're 4 away actually from their 200th, aren't they? So quite a difference there in attacking. Of course, they have played a game more, though. We must stress that.
They have played a game more, yeah.
But they haven't played
I wouldn't see 100 goals in one game. That would be a game I want to broadcast on. Yeah.
I don't know if my back would having to change the score after every goal. There you go.
I was going to say we need to get you a little Twitch deck or something to keep flicking it up, because it is hard work in handball when they do change every 30 seconds.
They certainly do. As we know, handball is a wonderful sport, of course, but it doesn't quite get the recognition it deserves. But those companies that do get involved, I must say a big thank you for the West London Eagles. Their primary sponsor, watfordvans.com. Big thank you to you for supporting the team, and for London GD, a huge thank you to GLL Sport Foundation and Kemper as well. Right, Jack, we are 3.5 minutes away from the second half. Now, I asked you, we're only about 4 or 5 minutes into the game, what your prediction was going to be. You did predict a London GD win. I assume that hasn't changed, has it?
It hasn't changed so far. What I didn't say, because I was tentative at the time, is I expected it to be a big margin. You could argue 7 points is a big margin, but it's not as big as I was expecting. So I was still maintaining that it'll be a GD victory. I think, as I said, if they get over this winter hangover they seem to be on, because they haven't played since the 5th of December, either of these teams, and they start to get their moves in, they start to get a little bit more flowing, the ball movement's a lot better with less technical and unforced errors, we could see them easily getting to 30 goals here in the second half, I think.
Wow, fantastic stuff. That would be, that's going to be an incredible second half, actually, isn't it, if we do have that. We did see an uplift in intensity from the women's game. We are expecting it in the men's game as well, as is natural when everything is on the line. We have, 2.5 credits, anything you want, you've got it, mate. Sensational. So it's almost time for the second half. As you can see, less than 2 minutes ago, London GD out on the court, just getting a little bit of practice. What do you think the coach actually said? Just more of the same, really, or just watch out, keep going?
Yeah, I don't think they'll have any problems defensively. They've been very strong, especially through the centre of the court. Maybe they'll be warning them of what potentially West London Eagles could come out with. To be honest, if I was the GD coach, I wouldn't change anything defensively. Eagles haven't shown any reason for them to be scared. I think offensively, I don't think he'll be particularly pleased, as weird as it sounds, having the margin that he has. But I think that the ball movement needs to be a lot sharper. It needs to be faster, sharper. It needs to use all the court. A little bit too forced to the line. They have some brilliant line players, GD, but you can't get it to them every single time. It's the hardest position on the court to pass to. So they need to use their other options, and they started to do that towards the end of the first half. I expect they'll come out the second half and instantly be in the groove to move it to the wing to wing.
Absolutely. Now, of course, that's the easy question. The hard question is Eagles coach Paul Dempsey. What has he said to his team?
I don't think he's had a long enough 10 minutes. To be honest, he's not even out yet, and we're already blowing the whistles. Not that they'll hear them, because they're in the changing rooms. And I think I've just seen a few...
It's quite a loud buzzer, though, isn't it? I think they're
it
on,
is.
they're
I think
on their way
they
out.
will have heard it, but obviously with 30 seconds left to go,
Now,
and they still haven't emerged. Here they are, in fact.
My question to you, actually, we saw a timeout was chucked just on the stroke of half-time. You get a minute, don't you? Was that just to use it up? What's the point of doing that?
So, in handball, I mentioned it in the women's, but I'll mention it again. It's a good point worth raising. You get 3 timeouts per team. So, if you're coach of GD, you will get 3 timeouts. However, there are rules about them. So, you can only use 1 in the first half. If you don't use it, you lose it.
Right.
Okay. So, regardless of whether you use it or not, you will. In the second half, you'll only have 2 available to you. You'll have 1 in the second half that you're allowed to use, and 1 floating. So you could have 2 timeouts in the first half, but you can't have 3 in the first half. You could have 2 in the second half, but you can't have 3 in the second half.
So did GD just use it for the sake of using it?
Yeah, I think so.
It seemed a bit of a waste to me. They had possession of the ball. There was literally, we're talking 3 seconds. There was no threat of a goal coming. I don't really get what happened.
I think sometimes it's just to take stock, maybe move some players about. A lot of the time when you use that sort of thing, it's to just try and have a little bit of an experiment before half-time. Maybe the coach was thinking about a potential plan for the second half, and he wanted to see just a taster to see if there was any way that it was actually entirely possible. So although it may look like a bit of a waste, and it may think, oh, well, they could have got a goal there and they didn't, or the other way around, it's just, again, to test out what he might be thinking for the second half.
Yeah, absolutely right. So it's almost time for the throw-off. Our 4th half of Handball live today. We brought you the women's game a little bit earlier, of course, between the Eagles and London GD. That was a thriller in the second half. It finished 25-all, and just like this game, GD had a 7-goal lead at the break. Can the Eagles get back? Here we go.
So the throw off for GD, as they all get a touch of the handball. It's important to note that these guys will have something called resin or sticky or tack or whatever you want to call it. Basically, it's a sticky resin that goes over the ball that allows them to throw it faster, allows them to catch it better, one-handed, two-handed. It means the speed of the ball is what, as you can see, is very impressive. And basically, everyone will want to get a touch to try and get a feel of the ball, because it's different every time you catch it.
Absolutely. In fact, a question, I don't know if you know the answer, I hope you do actually. The size of the ball, it's not the size of a basketball, it's not football. What is the size, do you know?
So in the men's game, it's bigger than in the women's game. So men's is a size 3 handball, women's is a size 2, and junior as well is a size 2 handball. Essentially, it's the same as a size 3 football and a size 2 football. Obviously, as I mentioned, a little bit bigger for the men's adult game. As Eagles intercept it, and this is their second chance to get a goal. Surely. It should be an easy goal.
What a goal.
He didn't mess around with that one, did he? And that is the first goal of the half, gone the way of the number 2 from West London Eagles, Krukaskas.
They needed that as well, didn't they?
Yeah, apologies if I butchered the name, but that's what I'm going with, Krukaskas.
I'm leaving all the names to you. I've done that on purpose. I don't know if you've noticed that.
There's a foul there. It looked like a potential travel, but he was only travelling because he was fouled. Therefore, he gets the advantage, essentially. From the left wing, great save again from Thomas Cower in goal. Where would they be without him? It's a great question that you can only assume would be a lot worse off. As West London Eagles
been sensational, isn't he? Sorry, Jack. He's been sensational. I was in the middle of trying to make sure we've got some content up there. But yeah, he's been absolutely brilliant, hasn't he, Thomas Cower in the goal for the Eagles. Really made the difference so far and kept the Eagles in the game. It's an outside sniff, but it's doable.
Oh, huge hit from the number 9 as they come back on, trying to get that aggressive defence going yet again. Move the ball out to the right back. Couldn't move the ball. There was good movement from the line there, but they just couldn't squeeze the ball over to him. And they recharge again. You can see the centre taking charge, telling the line where to go, or the pivot player. And here goes the trigger movement. Morgan Giller going for that left wing into the second line, forcing the players back.
Again.
It's
he
brilliant.
got a touch on that, didn't he, Thomas? I'm sure he got a touch on that.
Yeah, no, I think he did. I think it was a big shot from obviously the back court from GD that didn't quite work out, but it's brilliant to see those trigger movements forcing. It's a bit odd because you're looking at a winger coming round and thinking, oh, maybe he's going to get the ball back or they're going to try and force it to the line, but all that does is bring the Eagles' defence back onto the 6 metre because they have to mark 2 line players and opens up a potential backcourt shot, which is exactly what we saw. We just didn't see it go in, unfortunately. Here we go. And there's a charging foul there from the line player of Eagles. GD get the ball back, although the shot didn't go in anyway. Through the legs into the line. It's another save by Thomas Cower.
Unbelievable.
That link-up play from the right back of GD into the line player working brilliantly, but it didn't materialise into a goal. Fantastic movement there from the centre as well, the number 94. He thought he was being fouled, but he hasn't had it given to him. That's Kabachi even. Kabachi. Apologies, as I said, if I'm butchering names.
And so far we've seen once again an inspired performance early doors in the second half by the Eagles. They've needed to come out firing, and so far they've pulled 1 back. 6 is the difference. The Eagles 5, London GD 11. We are 4 minutes into this second half. 26 minutes still to go of this game. Long way yet.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think they'll be pleased with the fact that GD haven't scored, although that's going to be a 2 minutes, surely. There we go, and the number 9, he got a 2 minutes out the half-time buzzer, which carried over to the second half. That'll be his second 2-minute suspension, and that is, as I mentioned, the number 9, just trying to find him, Alan Capp. In fact, actually, it's his 3rd, which equals a red card. There you go, Ian. You're seeing everything today, aren't you, on your debut?
My word. So talk us through that then. That's that for him?
Yes, so the team will be down a player for 2 more minutes. However, the difference is he won't be allowed to come on at all anymore.
Okay.
He
so
receives
2 minutes,
a red
they
card.
can replace that player, but he's finished for the game.
Yes, exactly. So another kick to the teeth as well. I never got a red card very often. I don't think I had one. Another kick to the teeth, though, is that you get sent to the stand. You can't even sit on the court. So he'll be actually with us in the gantry. I'd like to say we'll catch a word with him, but I don't think it'd be very consumer friendly.
It's not after 9 o'clock yet, so we better
exactly.
not miss a goal by London GD there.
Morgan Gillett with that broken wrist lob shot again, sending the keeper onto the floor, putting it high into the goal, and that's another goal advantage. They're back up to 7 for London GD.
They are just controlling the game, aren't they? They're not doing anything silly. They're keeping their heads up, and they're just stopping Eagles from being able to play their own game.
Yeah, now the Eagles, obviously with a player down, it's not just a defensive problem. That lack of invention when they had a full cohort on the court will only be exacerbated. Now they're a player down. Not bringing the keeper out either, as we saw GD do earlier. Maybe not as confident as they are.
Well, I have to say there's no way I would be taking that Thomas Cower off the court at all today, the way he's played.
Oh, there we go.
And that is exactly why.
That is the opposite of a commentator's curse, I think, isn't it?
That is Thomas Cower. So far, he is player of the match for me by some distance.
I would have to agree with you, to be honest. I think in the last game I was hesitant to say the goalkeepers because they were both brilliant. But in this game, Thomas Cower has been a standout. And as I said, I played with Morgan for a long time. I very rarely saw him miss a one-on-one like that.
He's just starfishing, isn't he? He's just doing the right things, make himself as big as possible and just make that goal look very small for the attacking team.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you'll see goalkeepers will be inspired by other goalkeepers and they'll start starfishing, but there's a technique to it. You can starfish and you can do it too early and all the player will do is just put it through your legs or something like that. But Cower's got the timing bang on here, which is why, as I said, he's fully in with a shout at player of the match and probably has already got it, to be honest. So West London Eagles still down to play, although they've got it back. They're giving the ball away, and it's another fast break into the 19. And Cower couldn't do it that time. So that's the 19 of GD, scores as Ayrton Gellin.
Again, tight though, wasn't it? Hit the inside of the post, and of course, all of the ball has to go over the line. Am I right saying that?
Yes, you are. Yeah. Obviously, there's no Hawkeye here or anything like that. So, I've been involved in finals that have actually come down to the fact that I think the ball's gone in the net, and the referee hasn't given it, and we've lost it because of it. So, yeah, it can be a bit contentious, but maybe one day
there's not
we'll have
quite
Hawkeye.
the money in handball for video refereeing, but we hope to change that, because I'm sure if you're like me, you've been incredibly impressed by what's been on display over the course of both games, actually, and handball deserves a lot more attention than it currently gets.
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? I mean, obviously, an exposure is a big part of it, and that's what I think is brilliant that live sport now is here, giving it the potential exposure and potentially showing fans. Oh, wow. That was out of nothing.
That was sensational.
Here I am talking about markets and business, and all of a sudden the 55 Alexander Rounder reminds us what we're here to see, and that is brilliant goals.
And you do also have to say as well, the gap has stretched to 9. It's the biggest gap we've seen so far today across both games. It's a mountain too steep now for the Eagles to climb, would you say, with, what are we, we're 8 minutes into the second half, so 22 minutes still to go. There's still a bit of time left, but from what you've seen, London GD are going to put more on the board, aren't they? So
I think I would say maybe they had a chance if they had managed to actually score more than one goal in this half, but because of that statistic, they can shore their defence up. I don't think their defence has been terrible. In fact, I think it's been pretty good, to be honest, considering GD have only managed to score 14 goals in 38 minutes. It's their attack that has really let them down. It does help though if you get a bit of a deflection and a little bit of luck. And that is a goal back. That's 6 now for West London Eagles.
Still a long way to go, but hey, you just never know if they can counter-attack quickly. If they can get 2 or 3 on the ball quickly, you just never know. This is what I love about this sport. It's pretty unpredictable, as we saw.
That's into the side net, and he did really well to get it through and into the side net, and this is what they need to do, is move the ball up the court. They haven't got many options, though.
They've got to take risks now, haven't they? They've got no time to muck around. Just go. You've got to take risks.
Yeah, I think every single time they have the opportunity to transition, it needs to be 100%. But unfortunately, they need more of a plan. It's not just a case of running up and hoping for the best and everybody in random directions. They need more of a plan than that, and they need to know whether teammates are around them. And as they go over the middle of the GD defence again, it gets blocked. We can't stress that enough how impressive that middle of the GD defence has been, no matter whether it's. Yeah, no matter who's been in there, basically.
It's been a great atmosphere here today as well, hasn't it? A lot of spectators joining us up here. We're broadcasting from the balcony. Another great save by Thomas Cower there. Can't keep that one out, unfortunately, though, for West London Eagles.
Yeah, good goal there by the number 20. We've seen him score a couple of penalties, Ben Luyton, and obviously a couple of right-wing shots as well. So, good follow-up, taking advantage, the quickest to react as well. But yeah, it has been a brilliant atmosphere, and it's lovely to see as well everybody coming to support the women's game and then staying around to support the men's as well. And it's exactly what you need from these double headers in handball.
It certainly is, isn't it? What a day we have had. The women got underway at 2:30. We're now with the men, of course. It's the men's.
Oh, love that!
That deserves
I love
a goal,
it!
and that's got to be the goal of the day so far, hasn't it? It really does.
Yeah, no, I love that. A little bit of spark, a little bit of inspiration. And even though your team is down, and as I said, we've been lacking that inspiration from the Eagles, that's the sort of thing that can maybe just give you a lift and give you a sniffer, maybe not getting back into the game fully, just give you enough of a momentum to maybe inspire a little bit more creativity in that front third.
Absolutely. We must say a big thank you to your officials today as well, Alicia Martin, Nicholas Lamont, and running the table, Peter Gannon as well. They've officiated the games incredibly well. I wouldn't really say there's been too many protests, although Paul Dempsey did get a yellow card in the women's game, didn't he? But he's back courtside now, looking after the men.
Yeah, to be fair, actually, I think a lot of the time in handball, the refereeing, especially at the lower leagues, is questionable. But to be honest, I've seen, obviously we've been here today, I think it's been good, it's been consistent, and I haven't seen anything that makes me say, oh, that's wrong, or oh no, I don't agree with that. So yeah, well done to both of those.
Yeah, absolutely, and we did actually chat to them before throw-off earlier on today, and they were wonderful, weren't they? They were like, you can slate us if you want. It's like, no, come on.
As long as we do it politely, apparently.
This
Force move there by GD. There's been opportunities, 3-on-1, he decides to go on his own, maybe not the best option. It does recur back.
Count in the end. West London Eagles starting to make a few inroads here. Is it too little, too late? We're going to find out in the next 19 minutes.
Might start making me eat my words here, but there's still 7 down. I'm struggling to do the maths here.
There's 7 in it, yeah, so there's still big deficit, but it was 9, don't forget, not so long back. We have 18 minutes left of this game to go.
Utilised that fast break really well. GD were trying to move that. Maybe it was a little bit forced. They're throwing the ball away a little bit there. Obviously, they got the foul because they were being fouled. But, yeah, maybe just forcing it just a touch, maybe. Trying a few things that maybe they wouldn't if it was a closer game. That's the sort of intensity they need, though.
Good goal. Thomas Cowher was momentum took him the wrong way, unfortunately.
That's the sort of intensity they need there from the centre, instigated for a little bit of lateral movement to the right-hand side, move the defence, and just moving quicker than the defence can carry it.
They're actually quite punishing, aren't they, London GD? As soon as Eagles get a bit of a sniff and think they might get back into this, they're just taken down again by GD. They're just masters of almost letting the Eagles believe a little bit and then kicking them down.
Well, it's exactly that, and as I said, I think if anything, GD have underperformed really. So what all we're seeing, I think, is sparks of what they can do. Just not been consistent enough, and they'll have tougher tests as they go through the rest of this season. The defence is starting to be a bit more aggressive, meaning they are leaking 1 or 2. Oh, I'll tell you what, there's nothing ashamed of conceding to that, though. The number 2 of West London Eagles at Krukaskas. But again, maybe they could have been a little bit more aggressive as they came out. West London Eagles forcing that back to 6 metres.
Yeah,
I don't think they'll be too worried.
No, what's it, 7 in it again? It's a timeout. We've got, what, 17 minutes or so left to go. It's a tall order, isn't it? I think I've been very impressed with GD. Like you said, if they're not performing at full pelt here, there's a lot to come, isn't there? They could really be going a long way this season. They're currently 3rd in the table. We believe they could go top as well with a win today. So
yeah, I think
they're a team to watch out for.
Olympia and Nottingham will be watching this game. Hopefully watching this game and sharing it on all their socials.
If you play for Nottingham or Olympia, or you coach, you're involved, do comment. We do want to hear from you. We can see the comments, so please do get them in.
I think they'll be watching this and thinking there's more to come, and maybe if they've got them, we're not sure on the next fixtures, but maybe if they've got them in the next fixture, they're maybe thinking, okay, they're not singing on song here quite yet, but it's a good time to actually play them.
Absolutely. As we said, get your comments in. We can see them. If we get a chance, we will read them out as well. It is the very best. It's the men's Premier Handball League live from Gunnersbury Park Sports Hub. West London Eagles in blue, taking on London GD in red.
As GD get the game restarted, just over 15 minutes to go, 43 and a half gone, basically. As you can see, they'll start to implement what the coach has been saying, a movement there from the line player trying to find it, but not happening. The players have to put the ball down so they can restart. Eagles slow it right down. I say slow it right down. The phase 2 attack seems to be quite quick, but I think there's trouble there, and in fact there is.
Oh,
now converted back to GD's ball.
They've got to stop giving the ball away cheaply, haven't they?
Good movement, good pass, good vision, good save.
Oh, there he is, the great Wall of London, Thomas Cowher once again saying no, you are not going to stretch that lead any further.
Yeah, a little bit of contact, unfortunately, with a few players going down. Means we do have a slight time out. You guys will probably have a better view of it than we do, actually.
Yeah, well, feel free to have a look. Yeah,
there's a pillar in the way of it, unfortunately, from our perspective.
You can see the screen, Jack, any time if you like. It's slightly delayed, of course, for as we are broadcasting live. I think the pictures you see, there's usually about a 20-30 second delay or so not a big delay.
As we get started here, Eagles get the ball back. Looks like there's no real complaints from the players down there. They start to move the ball a little bit. Just whispering to each other now. The centre really trying to take charge and make sure all the players know exactly what they've got to do.
Trying to open the gap out wide again. They haven't had a great deal of luck
Yeah,
on
good
the wings,
movement
have they?
though. This is better from Eagles. They're just moving the defence, moving the ball nice and quick. A little bit of a technical error which slows it all down and means they have to take a pot shot from distance.
I think the issue is just time, to be honest. We are pretty much halfway through this second half now, just over literally
Passive
15
play.
minutes to go.
Passive play, meaning they only have 6. Oh, I was about to say 6 passes before they have to shoot. They didn't need them. And it's straight into the back of the net again by the number 2 of Kukaskas. So the gap's 6. The lowest we've seen it in this half.
Yes, no, absolutely it is, yeah. Very briefly at the start, because the Eagles scored first in the second half, didn't they, to pull it back to 6, because they were 7 down at half time. But once again, it does stretch back to 7, and GD just retaining control.
Yeah, the movement of GD then, the ball speed and everything about it, which is a little bit more what I came to expect, to be honest. And there's a technical unforced error there by Eagles. GD can't take advantage. But yeah, that's sort of those trigger movements, the flow of the play, the movements from all the players off the ball, and of course the slick nature of the ball itself. Was a lot more like what we come to expect with GD. And to be honest, I was expecting it 45 minutes ago, but it's nice that it's turned up. That's not what I was talking about, though.
What's going through the coach's head, Paul Dempsey, at the minute, the Eagles coach? Is he thinking we can still draw this, or is he thinking this is about performance now, let's just show that we've got a game to us and see what we can do for the next game?
There's a penalty here for the number 94, sticks it under the wall. Yeah, it's basically under the wall, but under the legs. Thomas Cower. Yeah, I think if you're Paul Dempsey, unfortunately I've been in the position that West London are in right now far too many times, both as a coach and a player. And as a player, I always used to think, okay, we're losing by quite a lot. There's a corner coming up here.
Yeah.
But a little bit like what we're seeing from Kukaskas, you sort of just want to score the best goal. You want to prove that you can still score, and you're not trying to show off or anything, but you're just trying to enjoy it and show that you can play, and that's exactly what the number 2 for West London Eagles is doing here. Couldn't get the ball past the goalkeeper there, but still, they're just showing that intent. So GD with the ball, moving it very nice and slick. Oh, trying to that spin shot, GD.
You don't beat Thomas Gower from there. You don't beat the Great Wall of London from there, I'm telling you.
Not with that kind of spin shot, unfortunately, as well. There was an opportunity for the line. There's still an opportunity for the line. The line is still not picked up, but he's giving it away.
And it could be a fatal error in this game.
There's a save there by Thomas Cowell, which obviously is impressive, but I would have thought there'd be more of a foul, to be honest, because he was travelling whilst being fouled. But yeah, as I said, if I was Paul Dempsey with West London Eagles, you try and just play the most enjoyable handball that you can. When I was coach of Leeds Beckett, we got promoted in our first season as me coach, and then we went into the sort of second division of handball. And there was lots of times where we were in this exact situation. You just think, go out there and try and play the most enjoyable handball, because the last thing you want to do is come away really demoralised. You want to talk about the fantastic goal that you scored in the last 10 minutes, or the fantastic save or brilliant defence or something. Give them something to think about in a positive manner.
Absolutely, good words indeed. And it's plucked out again almost too easily. And GD on the break and taking the game away now. It's West London Eagles 10, London GD 19.
Yeah, they carry on in this manner. I don't think my estimation of 30 goals scored by GD is going to be too far off.
Yeah, but they don't really need to get anywhere near it, do they? Either, to be fair. We've got 11 and a half minutes of this game left to go. It's the second half. There's a timeout just being called, and probably a good time for both teams, I would say.
Yeah, and you say, there's not really much need to go for the jugular, shall you say, but there is goal difference in the league. Of course, GD men's actually have the best goal difference out of anybody, which I suppose is a stat we probably should have mentioned earlier on, but we didn't see.
Let's pop the league flow back on the board, actually, just whilst we're in this. It's a 1 minute timeout, of course. Yeah,
there you go. On the very right-hand side of your picture, you can see that GD men's, they've got a 52 goal difference. Olympia currently top. Have got a 14-4 goal difference. That's the second best in the league. And that can probably sort of indicate that Olympia, they're winning games by maybe 1, 2, well, probably more than that, 5 or 6, whereas GD are pretty much used to, if they do win, they're going to win by, maybe 10 and only lose by 1. And we mentioned it before as well in the stats. If you're talking about goals for, West London Eagles, they've only scored about 20 goals per game, whereas GD 30 goals per game, so there's already a 10 difference there. And conceded, so this is defensively, Eagles conceding 33 per game, GD 22, so an 11 sway. So goal difference is important in this league, although handball obviously is maybe slightly less important than football because there's bigger margins.
Absolutely, well said indeed. It's back underway. The ball's in possession with the West London Eagles. It's the Eagles 10, London GD 19. We have just over 11 minutes of this men's Premier Handball League game to go, and it is heading towards a London GD win, and a relatively comfortable one as well.
Yeah, so GD sort of forcing the initial phase there, trying to push through when there's maybe not really need. They could have just taken their time and seen that the opportunity's maybe gone, but in the second phase, it's a great fake. Not to be, but it's gone out for a throw-in, not behind the goal.
It was a good foot there though by Toiskawa again, wasn't it? He's, I'm telling you, he's really been on form today. It's scoreline doesn't quite reflect how well he's played, does it?
No, it doesn't, and if anything...
well, if anything, it probably might, actually.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was trying to think of a way there, but you're right. I think it really does show how tight this game is. It's pretty much down to him.
A few handbags going on down there between two players, and once again, for the first time in the game, the lead stretches to 10.
And that was the number 55 for Great Day. One who's been really sharp on defence as well, the right back here. Lots of steals as number 2 fires it over. But that was just trying to... There we go, 55 goes through and scores yet again. And it's Alexander Rauner. And what I liked about that as well is when he scored that previous goal, obviously that one was more of a fast break, he sort of applauded the line play as well, because the line movement forced the defenders out of the way and gave them a gap to shoot over, also forced the defenders back onto the 6-metre line. This
is where the Eagles need a leader, isn't it? They need somebody to keep them fired up and not turn this into an absolute hammering right now. Come on, Eagles.
Yeah, see, that's the sort of thing. Although it doesn't come off, if it had, it would have been something to smile about at least. The likelihood is they're not going to win this game, but that is absolutely brilliant.
We've seen 3 quick-fire goals there by London GD, and they've just killed this game off.
Yeah, and in style as well. That was Carlos Sierra Sevilla. And I have to say, lovely little feints left and right, good footwork as well, carving through the court.
There's been a 2 or 3 minute spell here, which has just proved absolutely fatal for the West London Eagles. They are in possession of the ball.
Yeah, trying to shake it up with their lines coming in from the wings as well, so second lines. Unfortunately, I tend to think that all that does when you bring in a second line from the wing is congest the middle of the park, which is where Eagles have really been trying to do everything today. Oh, it's an ambitious shot, but there was a slap, you could hear it. I don't know if the microphones picked it up, but the slap of the wrist there as they went for the shot, which gives them the foul.
A few red marks on the arms tomorrow, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe 1 or 2 bruised knees as well. That court is hard down there, and these men go down pretty heavy, don't they?
Oh, it's a great pass.
Surely, good goal. What a great goal for the Eagles.
Yeah, so GD just caught out there by trying to be a bit too aggressive. And West London Eagles seeing that and absolutely exploiting it. Well done to them. 52 minutes in.
Yeah, 8 minutes left to go then of this game. Timeout has been called, and really you have to say there's 11 in it. GD are heading towards the win, but we want to see some fighting spirit from the Eagles in the remaining 8 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I think we saw it just then. I think their defence has improved since that previous timeout. I think that they're looking for their options. They're not just throwing the ball away. Yeah, they're being a touch ambitious, some far shots, shall we say. But equally then they have the time and the space and the awareness to see that if GD are being that aggressive and trying to turn the ball over, it's pretty clear that GD want the fast breaks and they want the goal difference now, which means they're going to leave a little bit of space for the line player. That's exactly what they did. Eagles saw it, they penetrated, and you saw the outcome.
Absolutely. Right, so 1 minute timeout, 10 seconds left to go. There goes the buzzer. 8 minutes of play left, and what a day it has been. This is the Men's Premier Handball League clash between the West London Eagles and London GD. Earlier in the day we brought you the women's match both between the Eagles and London GD, and that had a grandstand finish. Do go back and watch it. It's on Live Sport now on Facebook and YouTube, as well as Twitch. It's also on LinkedIn, Ian Waterhouse, and Twitter at Ian Waterhouse1. Do go back and watch it. I can assure you, you will not be disappointed.
Couple of changes then from GD. Right back specifically, Wilmore's back on the court. Trying to force it to the line. Looks like Eagles. I thought that was Eagles' ball, to be honest, but by the looks of it, they've actually conceded the foul. And there's quite a few changes actually we've seen, not just the right back. As the move from the left wing onto the line, it's another save by Thomas Cower.
With his head, I think, as well that time. There he is.
To be fair, I think it was quite impressive movement from the left wing onto the line to not go in the penalty area as well, because that is can be a bit of a dangerous one. But brilliant movement, brilliant awareness, and even better save.
I think Thomas has saved a shot with at least every part of his body so far this afternoon. Impressive.
I think he deserves the digestive biscuits.
I think he certainly does. Yeah, he's been in sensational form. He's kept the score down, really.
Looking to force that line play as well. Not the worst idea in the world, don't get me wrong. As I said, they're trying a little bit of invention here. Trigger movement, looking towards the line, but actually the right winger gets the ball, stands in the area, and it's fairly safe save for the keeper anyway.
We've seen that a lot actually in both games, haven't we? And it's just a tactic. You see it in all sports, but when you try and get a goal from that angle, it's so far reduced, isn't it? Of course you want to go through the middle. The angle's a lot bigger, trying to hit it on the wing, but you might catch them out, I suppose. It's always worth giving a go.
Yeah, I think it's a specialist position wing. You do have to be quite skilled in terms of your technical ability and your ball handling to actually be able to.
Position, Jack? Where did you play?
So I was left back. Well, basically anywhere on the left, so I could play centre, left back, and actually towards the end of it, ended up playing left wing, mainly because no one knew that I could shoot a left wing, so they left me alone. And then when I was given the opportunity, I'd actually be able to score it. But that was for university teams, and that was towards the latter end anyway. So I wouldn't be able to do it here
as well. And then they started to mark you.
Yes, I wouldn't be able to do it here, but I did manage to score 3 or 4 before it caught out the opposition. It's been a long time since I played at this level, and to be honest, I've always thought, I don't see why I couldn't go back, play at this level, and then I actually come to watch the game and I realise why I can't go back. It's very furious.
It's non-stop, isn't it? And it's a real skill, you know. These guys, they make it look easy, don't they, actually? But the ball comes at you at some pace in the middle of the air whilst you're running. You've got to be on it. You've got to be on it quickly, and you've got to think, and you've got to look where your players are going, and you've got to make the move quick. It's like all sport. There's a skill to them all. No sport is easy.
Absolutely not, no. And I mean, if you were down there playing this, Ian, you'd realise actually that probably the hardest thing to do, it looks easy catching a ball, but they're throwing it very quickly at each other.
Jack, if I was down there, I'd be in that corner on my hands on my knees blowing right now. That's what I'd be doing.
I was going to say, it's very obviously fast up and down the court in terms of shuttle runs, basically, but as passive play goes up, they actually concede the ball and turn it over to West London Eagles.
Under 5 minutes left to go now, 4.5 minutes of this game left to go. It is West London Eagles 11, London GD 22.
Oh, good spin there from the left back, trying to open up the left winger. And just to finish my point, as I said, it looks slightly easy that they're just throwing the ball to each other and everything, but actually when they get going at full pace, the ball is travelling very quickly. It's not easy to catch it. That's why they have to have the tack or the resin or whatever you want to call it. And that was the biggest difference when I stepped up to GB, even in the youth level, is the speed and the expectation of passing the ball is so much higher.
Now, Jack, this might sound like a really silly question here, but if anybody looking to get into handball, I'm looking at the shoes that everybody's wearing, and they look like fairly standard trainers, but are they?
No, so they're, as we just see a little bit of a coming together there. No, they're a lot more akin to sort of tennis shoes and indoor court shoes. That's what they are, they're indoor court shoes, and you can get specialist handball ones, but you know, if you were just out there and you needed to go to a cheap sports store, you basically just want to get some indoor court shoes. Great goal, great flick of the wrist there by Luyton. But yeah, just anything that's non-marking has a little bit of stability in the sole as well. That's the biggest difference. Running shoes, they're very foamy, they're quite flexible. You'll easily roll your ankle if you play handball in them. Whereas a court shoe, they've got a nice wide sole, very strong, very sturdy, hard to twist your ankle. Great block there by Will Moore as they try to go underneath him, and then GD turn the ball over.
Thigh there, I think.
Yeah, they throw the
good
ball though.
interception, but
They got away with that one in my opinion. He just rushed recycling the ball. Just take the foul, keep hold of the ball. Of course, you have 3 seconds where you're stationary holding onto the ball before you have to do something with it. Dribble it, throw it away, shoot. Something.
But something. 2.5 minutes of this game left to go, and London GD are going to pick up yet another win. It is going to be their 5th win of the season for London Great Dane, hence the GD, formed in 1976, changed from the Great Dane Handball Club in 2010 to London GD.
Good move. That was very, very close to me saying great goal, because it was a fantastic move, but he couldn't quite keep the shot down at the end of it.
Of course, West London Eagles, formerly known as the Ruislip Eagles for a long time, October 2016 decided to change the name to West London. It's been the clash in the capital.
2 minutes there for a high tackle, unfortunately a bit of a slap to the face.
And that's going to see the game out for him, so they are going to play the remainder of this game.
Just trying to have that aggressive turnover on the ball, try and get, as I said, that, just shift the momentum and so you can get another goal. But West London Eagles trying to expose the gaps on the wings and unfortunately not being able to into the side nettings. So GD charge up for maybe 1 or 2 last plays. Big shot for the back court. Oh, and that could have been very good as they go for a fast break. That's one of the very...
What a ball, surely.
Yeah,
that deserved it, didn't it?
One of the few times we've seen that pass actually open. You see that a lot in junior handball and lower leagues where the players can't return to defence. But very rare to see it in the Premier League, actually. Really good pass by Cower. And as you said, Eagles with a fantastic fast break to potentially their last goal of this game. But there's still a minute left, you never know. You
never know, indeed. You have to say not to do... I know we've mentioned Thomas Cower in goal for the Eagles a lot. It's not to discredit anybody from London GD, because you can pick any number of players. They've all been sensational. They really, really have.
Yeah, as we have 51 seconds left on the clock, we're a player going down there with a little bit... that's the problem, isn't it? With the chest-on-chest contact, sometimes you can just get that sort of blow to a chin or a nose or something like that if it's not quite right. No malicious intent in there at all. Actually, the GD player with the ball actually was the first to stop. We just need to make sure that obviously he's okay.
Absolutely, it's like football, isn't it? Most sports, a head injury or something like that, you've got to stop the game. The player's health is far more important.
So as he's clapped off the court, no need to take any risk of 50 seconds to go and obviously down in the way that they are. Hopefully it's just a knock, it's not anything too serious.
Yeah, so final minute of the game now. GD with the ball in red, Eagles of course in blue. It is West London Eagles 12, London GD 23. And London GD moving up the table with this win.
Missed pass there by Will. Gives Eagles one last chance to try and get this deficit down to 10 goals. They move the ball quickly but sloppy as well, and there was space on that right wing, but they couldn't exploit it with a good enough pass. And with 20 seconds left to go, doesn't sound like a lot, but actually when you've got the ball in your hand, you can do a lot in 20 seconds.
Well, as you said, you've got to have a positive intent to attack, haven't you? So you'll be amazed how quick it goes. It's a missed opportunity. Can the Eagles get one more?
5 seconds.
Can they
3.
keep the gap down to 10? No, they can't. And that is the game.
Yeah, so a good game by all, but it is London GD who walk away with that victory, 23-12 against West London Eagles.
Put down, Jack?
Yep.
Cheers, mate.
So you're going to do a couple of interviews and then we'll see off the broadcast. Yeah. From the centre.
I want to just have a word with the officials actually whilst we're down here as well. Good game. Referees have to come talk to you. We are live as well. 2 very eventful games, but you kept things flowing quite nicely.
I think so, yeah. Quite happy with how the games have gone.
Yeah.
Allowed aggressivity into the game, so that's what we want.
One thing I find incredible is the physicality of the game. Certainly in the women's game, it was incredible, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's great, but sometimes women's games are more physical than men's games are.
Yeah.
And I think it's brilliant.
It is.
It's great to referee, it's great to watch.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for all your efforts today. We really do appreciate it. We are going to see if we can grab a word with the coach, Zoran from London GD. I want to grab a word with Thomas Cower as well, who's been playing in goal for West London Eagles, because he was something quite special, wasn't he? They're just going through the formalities. Have a nice little photo over there. Jack's one of the nice bits, isn't it? Yeah, nice little picture there, look.
Yeah, I mean, even you got to be gracious in defeat. You got to commemorate the fact that you're back in 2022, haven't you? And you got to get a smile on your face, and that's exactly what they're trying to do here. So, yeah, it's what we love to see.
Excellent. I'm going to jump in and grab Thomas, because that was something the West London Eagles goalkeeper. Is it? Fantastic. JC, the chairman of the club, and Thomas, don't go anywhere either. Not quite the result you wanted today, but it's nice to be back playing.
Nice to be back, and great game today to watch. Yeah. Okay, there's a bit of a gap in points time, but I think all the players had a good time, some great actions, and hopefully happy spectators as well. I
saw you giving Thomas a pat on the back. He was sensational, wasn't he, today?
Sensational player, so fantastic. Yeah.
Fantastic.
It's great to watch sort of action like that.
Excellent. Yes, certainly was from us as well. Thank you very much for talking to us as well. Let's just grab Thomas. Don't go anywhere. Now, I have to say, it's not the result you wanted, but you must be delighted with your performance. You were absolutely sensational.
Well, I'm definitely happy to get a good game going, especially with the first game after Christmas break.
Yeah.
I mean, we're obviously not happy with the score, but we are happy with the way we played, with the heart we showed on the court, and especially now after a recent change, we lost the coach. And with Paul helping as an interim coach in the meantime, I mean, I think that was a very good performance from us, and it has us looking forward, very hopeful to the next games in the league.
Fantastic. Look, like I said, not the result you wanted, but you were absolutely sensational. You are my player of the match. I don't know if that means anything, but what's next for the Eagles anyway? Next opponent?
We've got Olympia Handball Club coming up next for men and women as well, so that one's on 29th of January. So that's a very good team. It's one of the top teams in the league. So again, that's going to be another close game for both teams. So we're looking forward to it. There's 2 weeks of training sessions to prepare for that.
Fantastic. Thomas, thanks for talking to us.
Thanks,
Thank you very much. There we go. I'm just going to go down here. London GD having their photo taken, but I'm going to chat to the man in the black polo top, Zoran. He's the coach. He must be a very happy man indeed, as you heard from Jack Oliphant, the co-commentator today. London GD, still a lot to give, haven't they? We believe they moved to the top of the table as well. They're just trying to get into place. Just bear with us a little bit longer. Thank you for watching anyway. Really hope you enjoyed that. 2 incredible games. That was the women's and the men's Premier Handball League clashes. The women, of course, earlier, don't forget, my word, that was an intense game. It finished 25-all here, though, for the men. It is London GD who get the win. We'll grab Zoran very, very shortly once they've had their picture taken. There we go. There they go. Let's grab Zoran here. Right, we are live. We've been broadcasting your game, and you must be a happy man.
Not really, to be honest with you. I mean, we missed too many clear chances, too many shots, which we need to work on. Obviously, this is first game after we came back from the break, and it's understandable, but not excuses. We're obviously fighting to be champions of the country, and these many missed shots is unacceptable. But anyway, we won the game. We are happy with that, and we're going to continue building on this.
So there's more to come then from you. I mean, I have to say, every time it looked like the Eagles might have a whiff of getting back into the game, you almost punished them and just stopped that immediately.
Yeah, well, with all due respect to them, and well done to them to two good games and they give us a fight, but we tried a lot of things.
Yeah.
We tried to use this game to see where we have a problems, to allocate all the things that we need to improve. Because I said this is first game and we have some really tough games coming in the future and play off on the end of the league. So yeah, that was the intention, especially second half, to let the boys play, everyone to get the minutes and just to allocate all the bits and pieces that need to be worked on.
Fantastic. We look forward to watching you again.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations on the win as well. There we go. Thank you very much. Let's grab Jack as well. Interesting there, isn't it? Let's hear from Paul again very quickly from the West London Eagles. Paul, that's not quite the result you're wanting. However, there's some standout performances. Thomas, especially in goal, was sensational today, wasn't he?
Yeah, Thomas is a fantastic goalkeeper. Davidas, our Lithuanian left back, was outstanding as well. We have a bit of a situation because they lost their coach just before Christmas, so I've had to step in last minute. So I think that considering the nature of the group this year, unlike other years where we've been very stable and very strong, this year we've had an awful lot of new players that haven't gelled together, but there's promise. So hopefully we can all move forward and increase our intensity and ability.
Is that what second half of the season is about? Let's get a squad together, ready to go again next year.
Yeah, you know, obviously with the Christmas lockdown, or not the lockdown, but it's Christmas as a whole, and then obviously with the amount of COVID cases that have been on and off, it's the same for everybody, but obviously we've suffered very much trying to redevelop. Yeah. So if there's any other players that would like to come and join us in the West London area,
there you go. Get in touch with this man. West London Eagles on Facebook, YouTube, wherever. Get in touch.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks, Paul. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you very much. Right, I'm going to grab this man over here, Jack Oliver, catching up with some of the players, of course. Let me hand that back to you now. Jack, we're of interest. I just spoke to Zoran, head coach of London GD. He's not happy. He said they missed too many opportunities. They'd also say they tried a lot of different things today as well, and they're fighting to be champions. What do you make of that?
Well, I think they deserve to be slightly disappointed, to be honest. I was actually just speaking to two of the players that I knew from school, and they sort of said similar things, I suppose. The fact that, they got that victory, but if they're going to want to win a title, you need to be scoring a lot more and being a lot more efficient than they were, less sloppy, unforced errors.
Yeah, excellent. Jack, I can't thank you enough for joining us on the mic today. Have you enjoyed yourself? Been back in the Handball for
I've loved it. It's been a proper throwback. I mean, I've done a lot of motorsport over the past 3 or 4 years, commentating on it over the past 2. And to be honest, I'm just counting down days until I can do this handball again, to be honest, because it's been refreshing and it's been lovely to be back. So thank you very much for inviting me down.
No, really, the pleasure is all ours. Jack Oliphant there on co-commentary today. What a treat it's been. Right, that wraps up our action for the day. We've seen 2 incredible games in the Premier Handball League Live. The women, it was 25-all. It was a grandstand finish. Make sure you go back and watch that. And for the men's game, it's London GD picking up a valuable win that we believe actually takes them to the top of the table. I've been your host, Ian Waterhouse, throughout the events. And don't forget, we are live sport now. There's a link in the body of this broadcast to our YouTube channel. Give it a click, hit subscribe. You can watch live golf, live motorsport, and now live handball. Here's a little look at how 2022 is going to look. Thank you and goodbye.